Welcome back to my channel. I'm Joe with Smokin Joe's Pit Barbecue. On today's video, we're going to be making some jalapeno cheddar Cajun brats. Stay tuned. All right, so before we get started on the jalapeno cheddar Cajun brats, I do want to go over a list of the ingredients. I am going to be using 15 pounds of pork. The seasoning, it's 1 tablespoon per pound of pork, so I'm going to be using 15 tablespoons. Again, I got 15 pounds of pork. Cheddar cheese, I'm using 10% of the total weight of the pork, which is 1.5 pounds. Same with the jalapenos, I'm using 10% of the total weight, which is 1.5 pounds of chopped jalapenos. And then the speed cure or curing salt is 1 teaspoon for every 5 pounds of meat. I'm using 3 teaspoons of speed cure. All right, so I got 14 pounds of pork shoulder right here. Now this is still partially frozen. Now I did notice that it doesn't have much of a fat cap, so I am going to be using 1 pound of brisket trimmings that I have right here, okay? So I'm just going to cut this up into cubes. And the size depends on how big of a grinder you have. Now I have a 1.5 horsepower meat grinder, which will take some pretty big chunks, probably 3 by 3. So that's the size that I'm going to be cutting these into today. Now these pork shoulders are boneless, and it makes it really easy when it comes to sausage making. You don't got to trim that bone out of there. Okay, so just nice big squares like this. All right, I'm going to cut the rest of this pork shoulder up, and I'll bring you guys right back. All right, let's grind up our pork shoulder. Now, I did not have my grinding equipment in the freezer only because I'm using pork shoulder that's still frozen, okay? So throw a couple of pieces down the chute there. Turn it on. So the brisket trimmings that I'm using happen to be a Wagyu brisket. Look at the marbling on that, all right? So save your brisket trimmings if you're making sausage. All right, we got our meat all ground up. I'm using the 4.5 millimeter plate, if I didn't mention that already. All right, so I've got my mixer attachment hooked up to my grinder. So I'm just gonna put the 15 pounds of meat inside of our mixer. All right, so I ended up using 18 tablespoons of our Cajun seasoning. You can use a little bit more than what the instructions say. I'm also adding our 1.5 pounds of jalapenos, finely diced. Here's our 3 teaspoons of speed cure. And our 1.5 pounds of cheddar cheese. Now this is high temperature cheese. You can purchase this at PS Seasonings. I will be leaving links down inside the description box so you can grab yourself some of the seasonings, some of the cheese, everything you need in sausage making from PS Seasonings. All right, I'm gonna turn the mixer on. Let that do its work. So I'm just going to check the texture. Oh yeah, it's coming together. But it does need a little bit of water. All right, so I have some ice cold water. I'm just going to add 1 cup for now, along with the ice. And give that a mix. All right, let's see if we got the right amount of protein extraction. Oh man, that feels really nice and sticky. All right, so just grab a little bit of this meat mixture into your glove or your hand and spread it out. And it should not fall off under its own weight, just like that. That is really nice and sticky. This is ready to be stuffed, but I'm gonna pop it in my fridge for about 25 minutes and get this ice cold. All right, so the meat has been in my fridge for 30 minutes. And it's extremely ice cold. So I just got my canister right here. Pack it in extremely tight. You don't want any air pockets in there. I gotta tell you, this smells absolutely delicious. So at first I was nervous about adding jalapenos and cheddar cheese to a Cajun brat. So I reached out to my buddy Russ Jones from Smoky Ribs. Make sure you check out his channel. And I asked him, I said, hey, am I out of base adding jalapenos and cheddar cheese to a Cajun brat? And he said, heck no, I would. So I decided to go ahead and add it. All right, I'm gonna put my canister into my stuffer right here and bring that piston down. Okay, just like that. I'm gonna add my stuffing tube and the lock ring. All right, so what I want to do is bring that sausage mixture all the way to the end of my stuffing tube. Just like that. Back off your handle. Adding a little bit of water into the hog casing makes it easier to put on the stuffing tube, and it also flushes your casing. See that? All right, so I'm going to put the casing on our stuffing tube. Add a little bit of water, makes it slide easier. All right, so once you get close to the end right here, I like to pull the casing out, get all that excess air out of there, tie yourself a nice tight knot at the end, just like that, and in with the casing. All right, so I got my daughter right here, cranking on our handle, and again, just apply a little bit of pressure. Oh, I like my brats nice and girthy, as you can see. Whoa, looks like we had a blowout, and that's okay. We'll just have to start all over. All right, so what we're gonna do is just cut our casing right about here. So we'll just tie another knot right here and start all over. Nothing to it. I'm actually glad that happened, so you guys can see that it happens really quick, but no big deal. Just start over. All right, here we go again, take two. Let the stuffer do the work. All you gotta do is guide that casing. All right, so we've reached the end of our casing, just pull it out. Tie a knot, grab another casing, and start all over. I'm gonna stuff the rest of these up, and I'll bring you guys right back. All right, so I've got all of my casing stuffed, and I got 4 of these really large sausage wheels out of it. So I do have some air pockets, so I got my sausage picker here. Just gonna go throughout the entire roll here and hit those little air pockets. All right, just like that. I do have my tray measured at 6.5 inches here. If you guys have seen my other sausage videos, you guys know that I like them at 6.5 inches. So I like to pinch it right here, measure 6.5 inches again, pinch, and then I like to twirl. So just like this. Okay, get that casing really nice and tight. Do another one for you here. 6.5 inches, pinch. Oh boy, I can already hear the 6.5 inch jokes. So just pinch again, and then twirl. Now if your casing is really loose, you might have to twirl more than if it's nice and tight. Okay, 6.5. Like this casing right here is pretty loose, so I'm gonna have to twirl this one quite a bit. And that really tightens up that casing. See that? Nice and plump. All right, I'm gonna get all of my links twisted, and I'll bring you guys right back. All right, so I've got all my bratwurst linked up. Now I did have a couple of blowouts, that's why you see a couple of stragglers like this, but all in all, not too bad. So I'm gonna be placing these in my fridge overnight. Tomorrow, I'm gonna be smoking these in my PK100. Stay tuned. All right, so it's the very next day, and I've already got my PK100 preheated at 130 degrees. Now, I do have the intake and the exhaust 2/3 closed. Now, you do have the option to dry your brats or sausages with a smoker, but because we let ours sit in the fridge overnight, that dried up the casings already, so we're gonna bypass that and go right to smoking. Again, 130 degrees, so I'm just gonna open up the door here. All right, so I do have my sawdust pan right here. Now, the sawdust that I'm using today is a mixed hardwood. Now, I did pre-moisten this, and I also moved the ashes towards the outside edge of the pan. That way it starts kind of a wick effect when it's smoking, okay? So I'm just gonna place this on my burner. All right, just like that, right in the center of the burner. Now I do have my drip pan right here that I lined with foil, just makes it easier to clean. All right, let's place our brats inside the smoker. I do have 3 shells full of brats, and I did spread them out evenly. Make sure they're not touching. And the third tray. All right, so I'm going to be installing a probe on at least one of the brats. Just put it down the exhaust stack right here, and it'll come out on the top. Okay, just pull your probe through a little bit, and pick a brat. I'm going to pick this one right here on the edge. Put that probe right in the middle. All right, I've already got some smoke rolling. I'm looking for an internal temperature of 145 degrees. Now I am going to be cranking the smoker up to 170 degrees, but not until this stops smoking. All right, so the brats have been smoking for 2 hours. I'm still getting a little bit of smoke, but I do want to take a look and see how they are coming along. All right, let's take a look at this one right here. Oh yeah, got a really nice color developing. The internal temperature right now is 100 degrees. Now I can see my sawdust pan there on the bottom, and I've got very little sawdust left. So at this point, I'm just going to close the door. All right, so I'm going to close the exhaust 100% and also the intake. And I'm going to increase the temperature to 170 degrees. All right, there's 170. Hit that set button. I'll bring you guys back as soon as the brats hit 145 degrees internal. All right, so the total cook time has been 5 hours, and I finally hit 145 degrees internal. So I'm going to open up the cabinet. Check them out. Nice, beautiful red color. All right, so let's pull the brats off. All right, so one of the most common questions I get is why, when I smoke sausages, do I put them in an ice bath? Now, the number one reason is to cool them down to stop the cooking process, okay? The second reason is by doing so and then reheating them, you get a really nice snap to your sausages or your brats, okay? Also, another reason for the ice bath is you're really going to seal in the juices of the sausage and not cut into it and have all the juices just fly out of your sausages or your bratwurst, okay? All right, so I'm gonna let these brats cool off, but I am gonna crank up my smoker to 250 degrees because I am gonna be cooking some of these bratwurst as well. We'll see you guys in a bit. All right, so I've got my PK100 set at 250 degrees. Now let's cook some of these bratwurst. Look at this. These are gonna be fantastic. So I'm just gonna pick a shelf. This one looks good. Go ahead and place 4 of them on there. I'm going to take these to about 150 degrees internal. They're going to get nice and plump for us. We'll see you guys in a bit. All right, so the jalapeno cheddar Cajun brats are ready. Now they only took about 30 minutes to cook, so that was pretty quick, again at 250 degrees. But look at these nice plumpy brats. Nice and juicy. I can tell you they're nice and juicy just by looking at them. So let's slice into them and see how we did. Just the right amount of jalapeno and cheddar distribution there. Look at that. Ooh, man, look at that. Nice and juicy. Perfect jalapeno to cheese ratio right there. Ooh, they got a nice snap to it, I can tell. Look at that. All right, I got a nice brioche bun right here. Gotta open it up to fit this big boy in there. Look at that. Okay. Got some spicy brown mustard. Ooh. Oh yeah. Let's give it a try. All right, let's see how we did on our brats here. Just gonna grab one of these pieces by itself. All right, so that bratwurst has a ton of flavor going on. Got a little bit of heat, not sure if it's coming from the spice or the jalapenos or a combination of both, but that is absolutely delicious. All right, let's give the bratwurst with a spicy brown mustard a try and see how we did. Listen to the snap. All right, so I'm fairly new to making sausages and bratwurst, but these right here by far are the best ones that I've ever made. So these bratwursts have a really good smoky flavor. By the way, that sawdust that I use is a mix of oak and maple. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If this is your first time here, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. And if you have any questions, ask them down below. Until next time, Joe with Smokin Joe's Pit Barbecue. See ya.